Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to try and repair this alarm sensor. This is a wireless sensor for a window, and what's happening is it's not working properly. So when I take the batteries in and out, it does communicate with the alarm, because when I changed the batteries the alarm did go off. But yet when I open the window, right now I have it on chime, so when I open the window it should make a beeping noise, but if you listen here, it's not doing anything. And the noise it should make is this. So here I am at another window. That's what it should sound like. I was doing my general maintenance, changing out the batteries, which you have to do, and unfortunately this one is really badly leaked, and it made a bit of a mess off the inside. But I did clean it up, but it's still not working properly. Hence the reason for this video. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be completely taking it apart, and I thought I'd do a video on it just to see how interesting the inside of it is. So let's take this thing apart. Whatever the magnetic sensor is here, between here and here, it looks like maybe that the corrosion's gone down and made that faulty. So I'm going to have to take this completely apart and find out what's wrong with it. I'm going to try and take out the whole unit. Okay, you can still see that there's bits of corrosion in there. Right, let's get this over to the desk and see if we can clean it up. So here we have it now out on the mat, and I can definitely see that there's still corrosion on the battery terminals here. Also here you can see there's bits falling out, but it doesn't look too bad. I can see that there's a bit of corrosion down here on the reed switch. Now what a reed switch does is, if you have a look here, when it comes into contact with a magnet it will make the connection, and then when you take the magnet away it will break the connection. Now it looks like there's a reed switch here and also here as well. Now I believe it will only need one of them to work. It must be because they're using one sensor, and it doesn't matter where you fit it, because obviously if you've got a left hand window it's going to be fitting this side, if it's got a right hand window it's going to be fitting this side. So rather than having to make different ones, I presume they've just put their reed switch on both sides, so it will just kind of fit all installs. But there's a bit of corrosion here, but it doesn't seem too bad. I think what I'm going to do is give it a really good clean using some IPA. So this is 99% alcohol, 99.9% alcohol. So hopefully this will get rid of any of the corrosion that's left on it. And I'm just going to use a toothbrush and just give it a real good clean, especially around the reed switches. I'm just going to wait for that to evaporate off now, and then what I will do is I'm going to get a multimeter. I'm going to see if I can test this reed switch by bringing a magnet close to it, see if it's making the contact or not. Now what I forgot to mention earlier is that the contacts here are working. Obviously this was the fault, it was all... That feels very weak here. That's about to break. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have to solder that there. Maybe the corrosion's damaged the wire a bit. But that's probably all the rubbing that I've just done now. So when I put the batteries in, after I've cleaned them all out and stuff, put the batteries in, the alarm did go off. So it's definitely communicating between here and the alarm. So that means that the battery contacts are okay. I think it might be a problem with the reed switch on that particular side. And if it is, that'd be quite good, because there's another reed switch on the other side. So hopefully I'll be able to just swap them over. Let's get the multimeter and see what's happening. Okay, so I've got a nice little rare earth magnet here, neodymium magnet, I think that's how you say it, and I've got my multimeter. So, I'm going to put it to continuity. Let's see if we can test these reed switches. So it is in that way, let me get my bearings, yet that way round. Okay, that's just fallen off, but I don't think that's the fault, that's from all the rubbing that I've just done now. I'm pretty confident of that. So I'll have to cut that back and solder it in. I think because this is the terminal that it had leaked on so bad, when the corrosion hits the wire, I suppose it eats through that as well. So it was that way around. So let's test this switch here. So I'm thinking there shouldn't be continuity now. No, that's right. And now if I bring the magnet onto it, there should be. And there's not. Let me try the other way. Right, okay. Definitely no continuity there. Oh, hold on. The multimeter did just do a reading. Oh, do you know what I haven't tested? Whether it has to be a certain way round or not. Swap the leads over. Ah, there we go. So it looks like the reed switch is working. I'm just going to move the battery, the magnet in different locations just to see if it makes a difference. Yes, it seems to be more when I put it on its side. Okay, well that one appears to be working. Let's try this one here. Yeah. Just going to swap the leads over. Yeah, it still works. This one does seem to be a bit more temperamental, this side. Yeah, I'm definitely having to go a lot closer to this one. See, to me, the problem points to the reed switch, because that's the thing that makes the contact when the window closes. I'm wondering, now I have to get the soldering iron out to change this wire over anyway, I think I'm going to swap the reed switches over. I think that's what I'm going to do. Because I don't care if the one on the other side is not working after I've swapped them over, because the window opens on this side. So it looks like what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to unsolder these three contacts here to separate the board, and then once I've separated, hopefully it should be easy enough to swap these reed switches over, and I'll just have to solder this back onto that little contact here, just there like so. I'm just going to do a little bit of messing around. I just want to see if the reed switches are sort of linked to each other. Yeah, they are. So you can see if I go across the top two, it's going off, and the bottom two. So they are linked to each other. It's just purely one sensor fits all windows. Right, let me get my soldering iron out. I've just stripped the wire back, and it's black all the way through. So the corrosion's obviously travelled right the way through this wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it rather than stripping it back, because I'm never going to get a good solder joint on that. Okay, so I'm going to start by unsoldering these three connections down the bottom so I can separate the boards. I'm just going to use a little bit of tacky flux, and I've got my soldering iron set to 400 degrees C. Right, okay, I've got them separated, and luckily I didn't cause any damage to the pads. Right, okay, so that's the battery terminal done again. This is quite badly corroded here, but it looks like the solder has stuck to it. Seems to be a good enough connection. Really, I should have probably sanded this back onto much cleaner metal. I think it's going to hold. I'm going to swap these reed switches over now. Okay, so that's them both swapped over, new wire put up here. So let's give this a clean up now with some IPA again, and then we can solder this back on up here. Right, okay, well that's good. It recognised that it had the batteries in, but I thought last time the alarm went off when I did that. Just going to put in one of the screws just to see if it works. Let's open up the window. Nope. Still not working. Right, okay, I was sure it was going to be the reed switch. Let me get that magnet. Right, well I'm thinking there's nothing in this part here that would fail. Let me just make sure that it is magnetised, yeah. Annoyingly, it doesn't seem to be a problem with the reed switch, because when I open and close this, the continuity tester goes off. So that's definitely working. So it's something else. I'm going to have to take this back down and have another look at it on the table. Okay, so I'm going to separate this again, and I'm just going to use my multimeter to see if I can see anything. I'll hold it close up to the camera so you can all have a look at the components, so you can take a guess at what it could be. I mean, it must be related to the corrosion. But then I don't actually know that, do I? Because it could have gone faulty before the corrosion. That window's never opened, it's never unlocked. So, you know, I'm thinking it's linked to the corrosion, but really, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking that this is to do with the vibration, maybe. If somebody's whacking the window, if that touches that one, then it sets the alarm off. Okay, so I'm just going to be doing different testing myself, and then if I find anything, I will then stop the video and show you what it is. Unfortunately, I can't find anything wrong with them at all. So I'm tempted to take one of my other sensors off to have a look at that, maybe see if I can do some comparison tests between them. But right now I can't find anything that's jumping out at me. I mean, I can see a lot of corrosion on, well, not a lot, but I can see some corrosion on the board. But yet when I use my continuity tester, it's testing okay, you know, with the corrosion on the tracks. It just looks to be surface. When I scrape it, it all comes off. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this one fixed, but I'm not giving up just yet. Okay, so I haven't taken apart another sensor yet, but I have been looking at these boards a little bit closer. And I've just been going across the different components and stuff. I haven't been taking them off the board, which I know you're supposed to, but they are surface mount, so by doing that I'm probably going to end up breaking a few of them. But what I have found is on this smaller board here, you know, the one with the less components on, I am, when I go across them, some of the components are shorting. So for example, I've got continuity here, and if I was to go across what I believe to be a capacitor here, in fact, let me zoom in so you can see. Right, if you look at this one here, you see, and now if I was to go to this one, which I'm thinking should be maybe a ground, can you see it's actually shorting out on quite a few different things. Yeah? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another sensor, and then I'm going to see, because if I was to go across this capacitor here, can you see it's not shorting together, but this one is, and also this one is as well. So maybe one of these, is that one? Yeah, that's shorting to ground as well. So I'm thinking that maybe something here has failed and it's putting it all to ground. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get another sensor, take this board out of it and test. If it's exactly the same, I know this is not faulty. If it's different, then maybe I can start taking off a couple of components just to see what is the faulty one. Okay, so here we have another sensor. I'm just going to use a multimeter just to reach in here, just to test that same little capacitor. That's shorting together. Right, okay. Yeah, and now I'm on the shield of that big cylinder thing. Right, okay, that's not not that. I thought I might have been onto something there. I think what I'm going to do is, now, I'm thinking all of these are the same, but obviously they're programmed to the alarm differently because each window has its own kind of number. So, what I'm going to do, yeah, they look to be the same. I think I'm going to mix and match. So, for example, now I know this one is definitely working. So I'm going to put this board from the faulty one onto here. Then if this one is faulty, I know that this board is faulty. If it's working fine, I know this board is faulty, and then it will just help me sort of break it down a little bit further. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, so I'm just going to test these now. I won't bother filming it. I'll just come back with the result to see which board is faulty. Right, okay, good news. It is something to do with the smaller board, the board with the less components on, because in here we have the bad bottom with the good top. And now, if you have a listen, when I open up the window, it works. So that means that there's something on that smaller board on top. It's not a smaller board, but the one with the less components on. So that's kind of interesting now, because there's less components on there to actually test. So I'm going to get them both back on the bench and see if I can pinpoint what the faulty component is. But it's good now because we're making progress. So we're back on the table now, and it's time to unsolder them both again. And now I know which board I'm working on. I can now start measuring the values and stuff like that. And hopefully I will be able to eventually maybe pinpoint the faulty component. So we're talking about the little board on top here now, this little one here. With the you know, it's only got about a third of the components, and this is the good one with the AA written with no fading. This is the bad one here because this is the one that had rubbing alcohol and everything on from the original faulty one. So this is the one we need to be looking at to see what's wrong with it. So I'm going to be fast forwarding through all of this until I've pinpointed the problem, if I pinpoint the problem, and then I'll get back to the video. Okay, so I've just been testing a few things on the board. I've just got it set to ohms at the moment. Now if I go across this black component here that looks like it's got some sort of spring inside, if I was to go onto the faulty board, which is this one here, this is the faulty one, you can see my multimeter now is reading 0.14 ohms, yeah? And now if I go across this one, you see it's kind of similar, 0.13, but yet if I go across this blue thing here, which looks like some sort of thing like a variable resistor, I don't know what it is, but basically it's got a film on top of it, but underneath it, it looks like you can turn it probably to change resistance. Now if I go on the good board between one of these holes here, one of these vias and here, then it's not giving me any reading. Yeah, but yet if I go across the faulty board, then it is. Now I'm not saying that's the fault, I don't know, but I think to begin with I might take off this little capacitor here just to see what this thing does, because on the faulty one the corrosion definitely was all around this area here, and that is the first component, so maybe there is some sort of issue with this capacitor here. So I'm going to use the hot air and I'm just going to try to take that one off there. Actually, instead of using hot air I might just try to use a soldering iron. There we go, I managed to remove that really easy. That's interesting, it's not giving me any reading now. Look. Right, okay. So now I need to test this. Let's get this onto capacitance. Right, it's not coming up with anything unless I'm doing it wrong. Let's go on to continuity. Right, so it's not shorting. Let me get my other little meter that actually measures components, and then let's see what happens on that. We're saying unknown or damaged part, but maybe it's just making a bad connection. Let me take off the one off the good board, and then I can try it again with the tester to see what it is, because if that was faulty, then I've got to find out what it is anyway in order to be able to replace it. No, it's also testing unknown. That's unfortunate. I'm pretty sure it is making a connection there, but it's not liking it. Maybe I should put this in the faulty board and see if it starts working. I'm still not getting the reading on my multimeter unless it was just meaningless anyway. I think I'm going to put this back on and see what happens. So I'm going to put this in, I'm going to go with the faulty one now. So this was the original faulty one and this is the original faulty one. Let's put them both back together and see what's happening. Just give that a quick clean. What I should have done when it was off, I should have tried to use the capacitance feature of this to see if it would pick it up. So we're back on the table now and it's time to... Okay, so I've put it in, I haven't put the top screw in yet. When I put the batteries in, the alarm went off, which is good. So now let's open up the window and see what happens. I haven't done it yet. Yes, look at that. Brilliant, so that is the old board with just that new little capacitor. Amazing. Do you know what? That was the first thing I unsoldered off the board, and how lucky was that? Look at that. Excellent. Right, okay, now the problem I've got is, how do I know what is the value of that capacitor if it's not showing up on my meter? How am I going to know what to replace it with? I don't know. I think I'm going to have to email a few people. I might email Chris from Gadget UK, Andrew Paul and Steve Porter from Tronics Fix, and maybe one of them might know, and also another guy called David as well that gave me the he gave me like the multimeter and stuff. He might know. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to email all them, and they might say, you know what, Vince, when it comes to those small capacitors, there's only one of two types, so try both of them. Or there might be 1,000 different types, in which case then I'm never going to know. But I'm well pleased with that. Look at that. Well, okay, let's. I'll come back to this when I've worked out this capacitor problem. Okay, this is really strange. So I didn't want to take apart the one that I just fixed, because I'm just worried that if I keep going onto the same pads that I might damage it. So I've actually taken one off a different window and I unsoldered the same part, and this one basically works fine. I unsoldered the same part because the part that was faulty, remember I couldn't get a reading on it, and then with more and more testing I actually ended up knocking one of the, you know, the bits, the solder bits off the end. I ended up knocking one of them off, so I couldn't do it. But look now, I've got a good one here in my tester, and this time I soldered wires onto it because I wanted to make sure that I am getting a good test, yeah? And it's still, and this is a good one, it's still coming up with no unknown or damaged part, which is really weird. And I've also gone onto it, remember I don't know what this is, and I spoke to Steve from Tronics Fix, and he said because it's in line, it'd be more likely to be a resistor than a capacitor, because a capacitor normally has one of the legs to earth. So obviously, you know, that does make sense, because if you look here, it is in line, isn't it? Yeah? But look, right now I'm on my ohms tester. I've got to be careful because I don't want to break this one. Hold on. And it's not coming up with anything. If I go on to continuity, it's not coming up with anything. And if I go to a capacitance test, it's not coming up with anything. So I really don't know what this thing is. Really strange. I'm wondering if it was left out, would it be okay if it was just left out? Because the other one, remember, I was getting a reading on it, the 40, the board that didn't work, I was getting a reading on it. But then on the one that the one that did work, I wasn't getting a reading across it. So I'm thinking, could it be something where if there's a bit of a surge, you know, a little kind of surge protector or something? It doesn't look like a surge protector to me, but I could be wrong. And then what sort of high voltage is going to come through it? It's only batteries, so I'm a bit confused about what's causing this. And I'm confused why it's not showing anything on my meters, and I know that this part is working. Very confusing. Right, okay, I'm still none the wiser as to what this part is here, this mystery part. But what I've done is, this is the faulty one here. I've just put a huge blob of solder one side and then a tiny blob of solder on the other side. So basically, when I was messing around with it, trying to test it and stuff, one of the sides actually fell off because you know it's kind of coated in metal on each side to allow you to solder onto it. Well, one of those sides fell off. It's still floating around here. I think it's on the mat somewhere along here. So what I've done is I've soldered one side properly, this little side here. The other side I've just put a big blob of solder, hoping that it might touch the tiny bit of metal that's left sticking out off whatever this component is from when the side fell off. Now at this moment in time, it is testing, so this is the faulty component. It is actually testing okay, because remember before when I went onto one of the wires and then went onto this side of the potentiometer, or whatever this thing is, it was just having like an open circuit, and that's exactly what it's testing now. Now that could be because I haven't got it soldered properly, or what it might be is maybe there was corrosion that was somehow shorting this one together, you know, like continuity through it. Which is strange because with my meter and stuff there was no continuity, yet when I went across the potentiometer before on the faulty board there was definitely showing a resistance there. So I still don't really know, but what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking of putting this, because I mean it's testing differently than it was before, but I think it's because this isn't really connected properly. But I'm thinking of putting this back in the board to see what it does, and I've got a feeling it's going to work okay. Because without this part here, or sorry, on a good board, it's all measuring open circuit anyway around here. So there's no, you know, there's no ohms, there's no nothing on it anyway, which is just really strange. So it's a complete mystery to me what this part is. Obviously, a lot of you watching this will know, and you'll put it down in the comments, and then it will make sense to me. Then I can go out and I can buy the proper part and replace it. But right now, I'm going to put this back in the wireless sensor just to see if it works or not. I'm hoping that it doesn't cause damage, because obviously this has to be here for a reason. I hope I don't end up damaging something else by, you know, having this go faulty, or essentially not having this on the board. I hope I don't end up damaging something like this, which might be harder to replace or might be more expensive, for example. So let's pop this back in and see what it does. So we've popped it back in, let's put the batteries in. Hopefully the alarm will go off. There we go. Right, that's a very good sign, so it's gone off there. So now let's pop the cover back on. And then we're going to see if it beeps when we open up the window. And I think what I'm then going to do is, because I'm a bit worried about this one, I'm actually going to set the alarm. And then I'm going to open up the window and see if it goes off, and that will mimic a burglar coming in and trying to open up the window. when we're out. I don't know why it does that when I'm tightening it up. It must be measuring vibrations or something. Makes those noises the same as if I'm opening up the window. And again. Right, okay, let's see if it happens now when I open up the window. No, so it's not. Oh yes, it went that time. Hold on. Oh yes, it is doing it. Hold on. Yes, because I was thinking it should do it. Well, I don't know why it didn't do it the first few times. Maybe would it have taken a couple of seconds to get power into everything? I don't know. It's definitely working now. Right, I'm just going to fast forward through this. I'm just going to do it about 10 times just to make sure. It's definitely working absolutely fine now. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to set the alarm. This is going to annoy the neighbours, but I'm going to set the alarm, and I'm actually then, when it's set after about 15 seconds or so, I'm going to open it up and see if it goes off, in which case then I'm happy that at this moment in time it's working. Right, let's try it. Right, so that's the alarm set now, so pretend now that somebody's trying to break in. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic, so it's all working. There we go. Oh, I'm happy with that. I just wish I knew what that component was, because then I could get it and I'll be happy then. So if you guys can help me out, if you know what it is, or if you've got an educated guess about what it is, let me know, because I really don't know why it's there. It must be there for some kind of protection measure, because it kind of works without it, unless it was never faulty, unless it was corrosion that had gone around it and was causing it to bridge or something. I really don't know. But at this moment in time it's working, but that has to be there for a reason. So there is a chance that by me putting a big blob of solder on and cleaning it all up, I've solved the problem. But I think more than likely it is actually faulty, and it must be there to do something else. Maybe if it was to go on for so long, maybe it kicks in. I really haven't got a clue. But if you know, please put it down in the comments, because it's going to help me out and it will help out anybody else that has the same problem. But so far, I'm happy with this. It's definitely working, and it wasn't working before. So to me, I'm taking it as a success at this moment in time. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more how-to videos. Take care. Bye now.